de las 10 ya no hay donde parar el coche, y un ruletero que lo quiera uno llevar. Llegar al centro, atravesarlo es un desmoche, un hormiguero no tiene tanto animal.
So my name is Alejandro Zamorano. I'm from Spain, but I've been living in Mexico for 6 years already. And here's where I founded my company called Revival Cacao Mexico. I'm working directly with farmers that want to stand out from the rest, that have interesting cacao varieties, that taste good. I work directly with craft chocolate makers. I know what they look for. I only realized later on that I was born the same day where the first Spaniard or the first non-Native American tried chocolate for the first time. Mexico and Spain were for many centuries the biggest consumers of chocolate in the world. It didn't matter if you were wealthy or you were poor, everyone was drinking chocolate every day, and they were valuing it. That this sense of purpose, is like reviving like this alliance, so to speak, between Spain and Mexico, between Europe and America, to bring back Mexican cacao to its former glory, right?
La burocracia va a las 2 a la...
We are Monica and Daniel, and we are in La Rifa Chocolateria.
In Mexico City, that's so difficult to find chocolate with cacao.
What happens here is after all the work that it's done on the cacao plantations on the fields, we mostly get our cacaos from Chiapas and Tabasco mostly. We work with different families and different organizations, and once the cacao has already been fermented or washed, they dry it and send it to the city, to Mexico City, and then we store it here in our chocolateria, and then we are going to do all the cacao processing.
The value chain of craft chocolate and cacao is totally disconnected. So the chocolate maker doesn't really understand what's going on at origin, and the cacao farmer doesn't really know how the different varieties taste like. Mexico is the closest origin to the US, a very historically rich origin, but it's totally overlooked, even by Mexicans. And Mexico doesn't export any cacao. Craft chocolate makers don't work with Mexican cacao, so nobody knows. It's the big unknown, right?
It was so interesting for us to discover this world and to start to share to more people in Mexico City and other parts of the world.
The beautiful thing about this is that they were open with us, so they opened their cacao farms and they opened their plantations and they opened their knowledge and traditions to us, and this allowed us to start knowing that we had no idea of how much work was into not just making chocolate but also like harvesting cacao.
We don't have only one reality of the cacao in Mexico. We have a thousand of realities of the different realities of the cacao in Mexico, and this is amazing because all of these cacao farmers have one different cosmovision about their cacao plantation, their way to work, and they have a different necesidades.
I believe La Rifa has opened us a very wide perspective when it comes to cacao and the culture surrounding cacao beans and the different social aspects, political aspects, economics of cacao. I think allows us to question ourselves what we are doing here in the middle of the city.
We have the opportunity or depend on us to connect all the process with different styles of lives. No?
Mexican cacao is in a critical condition, but we are just in time to turn things. I saw this project as an interesting opportunity to do as in other countries and map and understand what we have, what's worth rescuing, what we can rescue, what can be considered heirloom. Industry is moving towards commoditizing everything, and this means losing all the genetic heritage, all the cacao that has been grown in Latin America and specifically in Mexico for millennia. To attract awareness, you need to know what's there.
I'm Ana Rita Garcia Lascurain. I'm the director of Mucho Chocolate Museum in Mexico City. I had the job to restore this property, which is from 1909, in a part of the Colonia Juarez in Mexico City that was very run down, to found a cultural institution that would open its doors to anybody that like chocolate and to communicate all kinds of topics around cacao and chocolate and Mexican history. Everybody knows about chocolate. Each person, each household makes chocolate in their way. So I think that it's been such a domestic thing in Mexico for so many centuries. Chocolate is so metaphysical and such a complete food and so related to all of the memories. For example, we've been trying and smelling, and each one of us goes back in time into a certain moment or a certain place or a certain experience. And I think there are very few foods or very few sensorial experiences in humans that do that for you. And so delicious in the end. It's such a pleasurable thing. There's something about also cocoa plantations and cacao itself in Mexico, which is diversity. The amount of tortillas that you could try in Mexico, and you will see it when you go to Oaxaca and Tabasco and Chiapas. Each region, each household has a different way of making tortillas. The diversity of corn is enormous, the diversity of foods, and same thing goes for cacao. So you have the diversity of cacaos in Mexico that are yet to be discovered.
This is about exclusivity, about flavor, about history, storytelling, sense of place. And these are things that overcrowded markets such as the craft one do demand. So you're giving them the whole package, storytelling, heirloom, flavor, exclusivity, low yield, direct contact with farmers.
And as people engage in the topic, it keeps evolving, So I'm just one more link in this very long chain of people loving cacao, working in cacao.
Actually, the trip is about connecting these dots, right? And visiting all these projects and all these people that have contributed in their own areas of expertise to a certain extent to the goal.
Federal, así es un sábado, Distrito Federal. Sábado, Distrito Federal. Sábado,